Welcome to MMA Money, where I break down purses and bonuses for MMA events and fighters. I wanted to make a quick reaction to a video that Chael Sonnen posted a couple days ago. It was titled, "Charles Oliveira Lost Over $2 Million." It piqued my interest because it's about MMA, it's about money, it's kind of right up my alley, but also because the number that he gave seemed pretty high. Now, considering that Chael was an actual UFC fighter and is very connected to the industry and other fighters, and I'm just some guy on the internet, you gotta take everything I say with a grain of salt. First, I'll start with what we know. Charles Oliveira missed the 155-pound weight limit by a half pound, and because of this, he was stripped of the lightweight title. When this happens, fighters will forfeit anywhere from 10 to as high as 30% of their fight purse and any bonuses they earn to their opponent. If we assume Charles was making about $500,000 guaranteed, that would come out to about $100,000 to $150,000 that he would forfeit. You could also argue, as Chael did, that had he not missed weight, he would have gotten the Performance of the Night bonus for another $50,000. So I'll be generous and say we're at about $200,000 that he's lost so far. Now, something that I think Chael may have assumed when coming up with his number was that because of the weight miss, Charles would not be eligible for any pay-per-view revenue. However, Dana White stated in the post-fight press conference that he would in fact still be getting his pay-per-view points. But as Chael pointed out, there could be a clause in his contract stating that whether or not you are defending a title will affect your percentage of the revenue. And because Charles was technically no longer the defending champion, that could significantly affect his pay. We'll never know for sure without asking Charles himself or taking a look at his contract, but for the sake of this argument, I'll assume that he forfeited half of his pay-per-view revenue. Again, I'll be extra generous and say that the event sold 750,000 buys, and Charles got $1.50 per buy. That would give us $1,125,000, so half of that would be $562,000. If we add in the $200,000 from earlier, it comes out to around $762,000 that he missed out on. But not only will this affect his UFC 274 payout, because he's the #1 contender and not the champion, the same rules will apply when he fights for the vacant title in his next fight. So we can go ahead and knock off another $500,000 in pay-per-view revenue, along with the $20,000 he'll lose in fight week incentive for not getting the champion's rate. Adding that all together, I came up with a grand total of roughly $1.3 million. Now, that's $1 million less than Chael's claim of $2.3 million, and that discrepancy can partially be explained due to Chael assuming Charles would lose all of his pay-per-view revenue, which is not the case as we pointed out. But following that line of thinking, had we doubled the losses for this number here, it would have put us right at about $2 million. Now, of course, Chael knows more about the inner workings of UFC contracts, and he's probably a little more accurate with his pay-per-view numbers. So overall, I'd say he wasn't far off with his estimate if Charles would have lost out on all pay-per-view revenue. But since we know he didn't, I'd say he lost closer to around 1.3 to 1.5 million when it's all said and done. Whichever way you slice it, it's an enormous amount of money to lose over a half a pound. And that's all I got. As always, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments what other topics you'd like to hear about, as well as how I can improve the channel.